It's time to go racing in the Lone Star State. Welcome to the second round of the VOR INDYCAR Series here in 2024. After an exciting race at the Homestead at Miami Speedway, this is Texas. 300-mile feature brought to you by LOVERN'S Incorporated. Great to be back after a thriller in Miami last week. Championship race already heating up, and we're excited to be bringing the action back to you here on the VOR Racing Network. The mile-and-a-half circuit will play host, and we'll be your two hosts tonight. I'm David Kreutz, joined today by Kyle Clenworth in the broadcast booth, and as it stands, we're just a moment away from bringing the field to the green flag indeed. Qualifying is on the move for tonight's race, and let's get to know this mile-and-a-half circuit. Texas Motor Speedway here in Fort Worth. It's our hosting track, and for good reason. Overall, fuel capacity will not be limited. There will be 6 sets of tires in pit road, and the pit road speed will be 45 miles an hour, but this track is going to be more than 4 times quicker at race pace. No green-white checkers, no fast repairs, so it's going to be a one and done for these drivers, and here in Texas, you have to go all out. A mile-and-a-half circuit with speeds as high as 220 miles an hour. It's never easy when we come down to Texas, and it's one of the staples on our schedule, and we're excited to bring to you the action from this track once more. With that being said, taking a look at our track right now, it is rather empty. Most drivers have taken their qualifying laps, and right now it's Andres Eek at the top of the board by 55 one-thousandths of a second. Let's go take a look at what's going on down there with Andres right now going at a speed of about 215 miles an hour. 45 miles an hour to pit road is a huge decline, and you got to do that in a few hundred feet here, so watch out, because if we have some green flag pit stops, that might be something these drivers have to take notes on. Right now, Cameron Balstian going to be in the 12th spot, Sheridan Wade is in the 11th, and Dan Ench is up to 10th. Right now, just about 25 drivers have joined as Liam O'Sullivan goes up to the top of the board, the number 12, by 27 thousandths. Now it's O'Sullivan to the pole, and Craig Forsyth is going to be 5th. John Christensen in the position number 7 now, and Matthias Strauss up to 8th. And you can see right there the tire smoke coming right out of that. Number 28, Strauss heading down to pit road, and Julian right now making it down the back straightaway. Alternate currently in 12th with 60 seconds left on the clock. Time is ticking down slowly but surely here in this qualifying session. Most drivers have taken a lap so far, but the lineup is not final. Mark Murphy jumping up into the 2nd spot in his first lap, looking about 0.2 of a second quicker than his average lap right now. So for IAR, the leading team in the championship, it looks like right now could be Mark jumping up to the top of the times with less than 30 seconds left. At the line for Mark Murphy, it's an improvement, but not enough. It's going to be just 9 thousandths quicker than his previous lap, and Murphy remains 2nd as a result. And you can see these drivers running that middle groove predominantly. PJ1 at the top of the circuit, very tricky to run all the way up high. Expect these drivers to use those lower 2 grooves for the majority of this event. Now, with time ticking down, it looks like Jesper Ullman going to jump up into 4th, defending winner after that victory in Homestead, and looking to do so once again, but he will not be able to grab the pole position, and qualifying here from Texas has concluded. Now the field going to line up for the main event on your screen. 200 laps, or 300 miles, of course. We have 2 hours on the timer here for this session, so we have ample time to give you each and every lap as it all plays out. How's about we get to know your starting grid for tonight's event from top to bottom here in the VOR INDYCAR Series. This is the LOVERN'S Incorporated 300, and at the top of the charts tonight in qualifying, the pole sitter is Liam O'Sullivan. The number 12 and the number 11, both for Team VOR tonight, going to line up on that front row with a speed of 216 miles an hour through that lap. A 216.892 secures O'Sullivan in the top spot. It's going to be Julian Altena in 2nd there with a 216.706, and Mark Murphy's then going to be 3rd, the number 69. Jesper Ullman is going to be then 4th, 216.661. How about that for the 77, Andres Eek, after a podium last week, finds himself right now position number 5. It'll be Patrick Zilvazzi then 6th, and it'll be Matthias Kraus position number 7. Craig Forsyth's number 99, no stranger to oval success, is going to be 8th in the qualifying grid, with Fyodor Dovzhenko 9th and John Christensen position number 10. 11th spot on the order, then going to go to the number 28 of Matthias Strauss. We have both Matthias Strauss and Matthias Kraus in the order. It looks like Kraus gets the better of Strauss, and the 28 will start then in 11th. Yaroslav Donskoy is going to be in 12th, and it's going to be then 13th spot for the number 22 of Raid Rizza. Gary Lovern, the sponsor for tonight's event, is going to be position number 14. 15th place on the order, then from there is going to be Dan Ench, and Sheridan Wade is going to be then right beside him in the number 54. Cameron Baustian's going to be 17th with Aiden Millward, then 18th and number 67. And this is when the speeds creep under 215 miles an hour. It is going to be Cody Meadows. And in 19th and Nate Fields position number 20. The final few drivers on the grid go as follows. You'll see right there the number 60 of Jordan Evans, then the number 37 of Lorenzo Bonder, with Seb Alexander and Tom Holland not setting times as the final two drivers on your starting grid. The field is now heading off a pit road for the first time tonight, and 24 have registered, all 24 on your starting grid for the LOVERN'S Incorporated 300. Now, with a little bit of time before we get things going, we'd once again like to thank our sponsor for tonight's race, LOVERN'S Incorporated, bringing us the support necessary for this broadcast to come about. And LOVERN'S Incorporated provides professional service in renovation, remodeling, painting, and mold removal for government, commercial, and residential products. So we'd once again like to thank LOVERN'S for bringing the action to you tonight in this 300-mile feature. And we're now half a lap away from getting things on the move. Liam O'Sullivan got the pole position, and right beside him is his teammate in the number 11. So it looks like Team VOR looking good already to take the first few laps by storm and build an advantage here in Texas, trying to get that track position to pay off in dividends here tonight. The iRacing official pace car is due to come out, and in this time by, here we go again. It's going to be Liam O'Sullivan to the inside as your pole sitter, bringing the field back to green in the Lone Star State. Let's go once more with the number 12 in control. The green flags out in Texas. We are underway in the LOVERN'S 300. At the line, Liam O'Sullivan going to lead the way. That is the end of lap number 1. Julian right now going to be side by side in the fight. It looks like Mark Murphy is going to be the one who wins it. Kyle, thank you for stopping by and joining us here in the broadcast booth today. We've seen your work here at the VOR Racing Network with the Dallara IO5 series, but getting a chance right now with these up-to-date IndyCars, and so far already seeing a fierce fight up in front. How's it feeling right now as we're getting into the swing of things here in Texas, knowing these drivers very, very early in the season are already looking for opportunities to win?
In the iconic race yesterday, Liam and Julian swept 2/3 of the podium, and it looks like they're trying to repeat that feat again today, but do not count out Murph or Jesper. Jesper is the Texas Whisperer. He's sitting now in 4th. I would place all of my money in Vegas down on that 2-car to win today.
Jesper right now going to be running in position number 4, just outside of the podium, but that's not to say he won't improve. As a matter of fact, already with the points lead here, and he's been doing very good so far in the one race we've had, admittedly, and it's going to be Indy Alliance Racing as a result, the team to beat in the opening portion of this championship. Right now for IIR running in 4th, not a bad spot to be in, but still some time to gain, as right now Mark Murphy finding himself just behind Liam O'Sullivan. It looks like 2nd and 4th for the team IAR, and VOR 1st and 3rd. So it's going to be the fight of those teams once again, looking to do battle all throughout the night here.
It'll be interesting to see how the teammates communicate with one another, with how important it is to wrap the white line through 1 and 2. You'll see Murph diving all the way a car width to the right of Liam here, entering to avoid the dirty air or the wake of the leading car. Teammates can communicate and say, hey, I'm going to be right on the line, or I'm going to run a lane up to coordinate who gets the wash and if they can build a run. We've got mostly single file through the field here, so maybe we'll see some of those team orders come out into play as we string out a little bit more.
So far, a bit of a side-by-side. You might see now that number 77 of Andres Eek trying to make a move and maybe eke out the spot there. Going to go a little bit higher to that middle groove. Seeing the drivers predominantly using those bottom two lines. As it stands right now, Jesper going to find himself just ahead of Eek. And so far, most of the leaders have kept it single file to get these opening laps out of the way. Only 8 laps in so far. Matthias Strauss going to be in that number 28 as we look a little bit further back. And drivers starting to split up just a bit, but nothing all too crazy, at least in the early going here. See 8 laps in at a 200, that's the way they remain. Most drivers keeping it very calm and steady. Keeping that calm wheel is going to be a huge deal with these speeds, and there's not a lot of room here in Texas. Those drivers will not dare to go up high. It's the bottom two wheels which seem to be preferential, though some drivers like Aiden Millward maybe try to do something different further back here.
Can get the third groove or potentially the fourth groove in turns 3 and 4 to work if you're rotating late apexing these banked turns that are asymmetrical in banking. Turns 1 and 2, basically you have to dime. So if you come in really high, you've got to yank the wheel to the left and get to the bottom as quickly as you can for exit. 3 and 4, you can kind of play it by ear. As long as you're in the wake for the front stretch, you can make up all the time you've lost running high to keep the tires cool and get the downforce on your car.
Right now, the number 11 of Julian Altena running just behind Mark Murphy, trying to follow the lead to that number 69. Murphy going to go middle here as Liam decides to go to the bottom. And it looks like a little bit more of that defensive driving at the front of the field for O'Sullivan. Going to keep them in the lead and keep Mark Murphy there at bay. 200 laps on the table, and we talked about the tires just before the race started. There are going to be 6 in pit road. It was a huge dive from the bottom up for Murphy, and Altena sends them almost up into that third groove. We have 6 in pit road, plus the tire set these drivers are starting with. So a very, very unrestricted amount of 7 in total should be good enough for these drivers to go all the way on perhaps a 3 to 4 stop strategy. Depends upon who decides to go down to pit road first. You might see the pit road window open at about lap number 40, and then go up to perhaps 50, 55. But Kyle, you discussed the Iconic Series race, which you saw yesterday. Maybe a chance some of that strategy bleeds in?
Unlikely. The Iconic cars run a restricted fuel cell, so they don't get the whole 18.5 gallons that we have here in the IR 18. And the IR's 18s punch such a large air in the hole, and there are so many more cars on track, it's much easier to save to maybe get to a 4.5, 5 mpg even here, and in this mile-and-a-half intermediate oval where you can roll out of the throttle and pick it up and keep your revs high and map down, right? So the more tools you have at your disposal, the more fuel mileage you can wring out of the car.
And looking for some fuel mileage for those drivers in the draft right now. Looks like Julian's still going to be lying back, although you can see Mark Murphy sort of scrunching up here, trying to get these 3 out of the way of drivers like Jesper Orman or Andres Eek, who are very competitive in their own right. But if you can make that gap, perhaps it's best to keep it up in front. Right now, starting to see those separations. Nothing too major just yet, but Jesper nearly a half second behind Julian. Julian goes up to the top side, maybe starting to break that draft is the beginning goal anyway. And we're starting to see going down to the inside Mark Murphy and Liam both together here, and it looks like that number 12 still holding the way. He's led all 16 laps so far in a very quick opening segment. You look further back, more the same beyond for drivers such as Dan Ench, Raid Rizza, and more to come. Sheridan Wade right now going to be a little bit further back on a driver such as John Christensen. And all's well so far. Look at the side-by-side, and there goes Cody Meadows. Meadows right now going to be up inside the 13th position, so making some gains so far for Cody, and maybe these drivers in the back half of the field have to be a little bit more aggressive regardless of their fuel mileage circumstance.
This is a long race, as we've alluded. It's 50 miles, 200 laps. Oh, smokes. I got to be able to count better than that. It's 350 miles, I believe, is my math. Or I don't know. Maybe my math is wrong. I'm bad at math sometimes. But in order to finish first you must finish, right? Texas turn 2 is very treacherous. Surviving it every single lap here is going to be paramount. Obviously, if you get any damage, if you smack the side pod or lose a wing, you're going to be uncompetitive immediately. Prioritizing survival, especially in a race of this length, is probably first before worrying about fuel economy or even, I mean, it goes hand in hand with tire preservation. If you preserve your tires well, you should be able to preserve your car well.
And talking about tire preservation, how about we talk about the race conditions as we see a little bit of a side-by-side battle with Cody Meadows just ahead of it now. These drivers are biting each other, and when you're side-by-side, it's not easy to keep these tires intact. The weather is going to make that equally so. Ambient temp of 80 degrees, but the track temperature is 106 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity is about 34%. So it's a very humid circuit compared to what most of these drivers are working with. The winds are very calm at about southbound 1 mile an hour, but overall sunny skies and high humidity. These tires are going to be scorching all night long. We're already beginning to see some degradation of the lap times, about a half second off for Cody Meadows that time by compared to his best. Looks like if we're looking throughout the middle of the field especially, drivers are shredding their stuff, and they're definitely beginning to feel it here, Cody. I don't know about those leaders, though. They look to be running still relatively quick. I think they might be pushing perhaps a little harder. Mark Murphy staying with them, and Liam O'Sullivan still ahead.
Yeah, just under the 25-second mark here. The leader just ran a 24.9, which is a little bit slower than you'd be running on fresh rubber, but not by a lot. The fresh air or clean air on the front of that lead car of Liam O'Sullivan has allowed him to preserve his tires the best of anyone in the field. Mark Murphy has been very vigilant to never follow in the tire tracks of Liam in 1 and 2, and Julian gets forced there to the third lane to do the same, try to emulate what Murph is doing to contain or, keep it in his hands. The more clean air you can find on the car, the better your tires will survive. And I think Murph is building a run here on O'Sullivan. Let's see if he sends it down into 1 and 2.
It looks like Mark going to take you to that middle groove. Julian still going up high. Everyone trying to keep their own groove through these corners. And as we ride on board with Julian, you can see he's got the best seat in the house for this battle. Mark, once again, going to slot right about a lane higher and keep it side by side through 3 and 4. I think Mark's got a good run here. Might be able to make something of it down the front straightaway and at the line. Close. I think Mark might have led that lap for the first time, but O'Sullivan still has it through the first 2 turns.
Yeah, maintaining the momentum here in the second and third groove is how you build a run, and then you use the draft to help you complete the pass. The run that Murph has now materialized 2 laps ago, and it takes this long for the move to actually be made. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold the same amount of speed on corner exit here, but he is inching back to the side pod of Liam O'Sullivan.
Every driver right now in this lead pack still doing their own thing. Mark Murphy just about as quick. There's really no difference between them. It comes down to several hundreds at the very most. And you got to wonder, will Mark decide to go for that pass before the first fuel window opens, or is he going to decide to stay in the tire tracks and try to force a mistake? So far, Liam, of course, hasn't really been intimidated, and right now, Team VOR going to put some more pressure on Mark. Julian gets directly side by side with your second place driver. That sends Murphy back, and now Julian with the run, going to chase his teammate down the back straightaway and not clear, but definitely closer now, and Julian going to be more aggressive to push right by Murphy. That's the pass for second. Team VOR now first and second. It's now IAR third and fourth.
That pass happened because Liam gave Julian the draft down the backstretch and gave Mark the dirty air in 3 and 4. Mark had to bail in order to not hit Julian in the left rear tire. Hopefully, the VOR cars can link up, teammate swap, run faster lap times together as 2 cars rather than just 1 car blocking, and they can leg out from the field. And then if Murph and Jesper there are smart, they can kind of latch onto the coattails of the lead duo and run fast laps and secure themselves a solid uncontested top 5.
And you can see right now, these prime 4 have been able to run away from the rest of the field. Patrick Zilvazzi up to 5th, multi-time podium sitter last season, and currently running right now in that 5th spot. Not bad by any means, but about a second and a half off of Jesper and the IAR duo, who are ahead of him right now. So it's clear that these drivers have been able to break away from most everyone else. Now it's all about who can separate themselves as the prime duo. And right now, I think it's going to be the advantage Team VOR, of course. They're first and second once again, as they were in qualifying, but I wouldn't count out Mark Murphy. Maybe he's got a chance to get right back in the tow and try to pull the speed down the straightaways and make something happen.
Like I said on the beginning of the broadcast, I'm going to put all my money on Jesper. He's been committed to the white line. He's been very diligent in backing out to not scrub the tires. 3 and 4 here, look, he's a lane lower than Murph, a lane lower than Julian. And in 1 and 2, no matter where they go in front of him, he's always on the bottom. That is incredibly good for the longevity of your tire life. If you're not in the lead, it's the best thing you can do for your tires. And Murph and Julian are up rim riding right through 1 and 2, right next to the wall.
Julian has been no stranger to running it high, but that's about the highest we've seen the both of them, and as you can see now, a little bit more pressure for Alton as number 11, and it might be Mark Murphy taking back that second spot once again. So this could be a difference for the team shuffling up once more, and it's going to be a Mark Murphy sandwich if he gets between those 4 cars again, but it looks like just not enough, and Julian holding his own, clear once more. Almost through 3 and 4, just wasn't able to make it stick. However, it looks like using that middle groove is going to work out down the front straightaway rather than the back. And once again, Julian just ahead, but you can see Jesper's pulled closer and Mark Murphy especially so. And it looks like now Jesper going to be running down to that bottom side, his own teammate, and we're going to see that teammate swap you mentioned, Kyle. I think now an opportunity for Jesper to put down the heat after being the defensive of the two.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for a 2-for-1 here. When they were side by side through 1 and 2, he wisely backed out to not push them all 3 wide. But I think now that he's got Altena in his crosshairs, he's going to go ahead and confirm himself as the Swedish sniper and take the shot.
See now, going down to the inside line, your championship leader, who's already up there with his team, who lead the Manufacturers' Championship. They are looking for blood. Down to the inside once again, Julian defending with that middle groove, as he's been doing previously, but still not enough. Almost goes down there below the apron, but now room into 1 and 2. Jesper looking for the pass, low through the first 2 corners, and you mentioned it, he is dedicated to running the bottom, and it will work out. Jesper Orman up to second. Now Liam O'Sullivan's alone, and his teammate will not be there to help him if Jesper commits to the pace.
We'll see how aggressive Julian is here to get back to second. To me, it looked like he was trying to allow Liam to pull out to an uncontestable lead, but I do not think that is possible when Jesper Orman is on the track at Texas. This dude has something figured out. He is better than everyone I've seen on the service here, and it's not even close.
And Julian now going to lose another spot to an IAR driver in Mark Murphy, and Jesper Orman now going to be bringing his teammates through. Jesper's one of the best drivers, not only in this series, but when it comes down to the ovals, he is fantastic, and he's been able to show that time and time again. Multiple race victories last season, and he was one of those drivers in the thick of the championship battle for the entirety of the campaign. And he's looking to do so this time around. He's getting closer and closer to a lapper. That's not O'Sullivan. It's going to be right now one driver who's one down. That looks to be not Jordan Evans. However, it looks like it's going to be Sheridan Wade. Wade going to be up to the high side right now. And with Sheridan still running with these leaders here, we'll see what Jesper decides to do with them. Number 60 now right there. Maybe just going to try to get in the wake of this driver and see if he's any quicker. Although it doesn't look like that's really the case. Wade decided not to start this race in formation. Went down to pit road early, and I believe he missed the start, perhaps intentionally or otherwise, and now finds himself further back, 40 laps in, out of 200. With that being said, we're getting closer and closer to opening up that pit road window. And if these drivers are going to go for perhaps the 3-stop strategy, making it to 50 or 50 and beyond would be ideal, although it looks like right now throughout the field, very few signs of heading to pit road.
That's actually how Wade got back there. He stopped on like lap 36. I think he's on a totally different strategy. If anything, this would allow Jesper to maybe consider getting to lap 50, seeing as he's running the wake of other drivers this entire run. I would expect Liam O'Sullivan to make it, I don't know what map he's running right now, but I would not think much further than lap 46 if he's been running map 1 wide open in the lead, but we'll see.
That we will, just a few laps away from really opening up that window right now. Sheridan Wade, one of the few examples of a driver who's gone down to pit road. 42 laps in here in the Loverns Incorporated 300. I'd like to thank the chat room for stopping by here on the VOR Racing Network. The Naptown Savage, Seb Kinder, Rot Prod Games, Abaddon, and Arthur Renson for making their way through and talking about the platform we're using tonight. You're watching a broadcast here on the iRacing Motorsports Simulation platform. And if you want to join the fun iRacing, discounts for memberships, 40% off for all membership plans. Visit iRacing.com today and start your sim racing journey here. And you could join the fun here at VOR if you'd like to. We got a lot of great series. I know, Kyle, you broadcast in particular the Iconic Series. We have all three types of the IndyCars in one lead. We have the IR05s, the DW12s, and these IR18s, as you see. So every generation of modern open wheel racing, you can experience it from the final days of the IndyCar split between what was CART and the IRL to, of course, mid-2010s with the DW12 and now the modern package as you see it in the real world today. You can join the fun here at VOR and find yourself a driver amongst some of the best in the open wheel scene. As it stands, it's going to be Liam O'Sullivan still leading Jesper Orman around. And first 45 laps, it looks like very little contest as Andres Eek went down to pit road and one of the first true contenders to make his way in for a stop.
Interesting to note here, Sheridan Wade is likely about to unlap himself. Those fresh tires he's bolted on have allowed him substantial pace over Liam O'Sullivan. He's walked away from Jesper, and here he comes looking on the bottom of our leader, Liam, to get himself back on the lead lap.
And it shouldn't be all too hard for Sheridan getting those tires warmed up and now in the position to definitely at least fight for the pass. Most likely going to make it in these coming 2 or 3 laps if Liam decides not to go down to pit road on his own volition. Pit road speed 45 miles an hour, so keep your eyes peeled for potential penalties tonight. Sheridan down the back straightaway, easily going to make it through and gets back on the lead lap. So Wade getting that in the lead lap territory, real good for his sake. And Liam O'Sullivan now beginning to see that tire fall off is real. A few tenths of a second a lap might not sound all too major, but if you play it just right on pit road, be it the undercut or running longer, those tenths can add up to several seconds right now. Most drivers have not decided to go down to pit road, but there is an opportunity at hand to make it happen. Looks like right now the leaders might be eyeing it. We'll see who comes down first in this top 10. So far, O'Sullivan leads by 1.5 seconds, and Jesper Orman maybe biding his time and waiting to get aggressive on stint number 2.
I don't know how hard you can push, especially here on the old tires. When you've got traffic taking, maybe your lane on exit or providing wash in front of you, it's very hard to push out, a sub 25 lap time. These 25.3s, 25.4s we're seeing from the lead pack is basically to be expected, but we've crossed the 50 lap threshold here. I would expect all of the leaders to pit as soon as possible so they can stop bleeding lap time to the better, fresher tires.
And you can see right now on the timing tree, the last lap speeds for these guys certainly much slower than qualifying and race trim. Patrick Zovazzi looks like right now one of the quicker drivers, and Zovazzi making time. I believe he's gone down to pit road given how much quicker he is. Liam O'Sullivan that time by ran at 2:06.931, back up to about 208 miles an hour. That's 10 miles an hour off of the fastest times taken all throughout. And as it stands, it's going to be Jesper Orman making those moves by the lappers. It's now a sea of drivers who are choosing to go down to pit road. Now, pit road getting busy here. You can see the drivers definitely eyeing it more so. Taking a look to pit road right now. A few others fly by. We're taking a look at who particularly is down and in. It looks like O'Sullivan, one of which. Taking a close-up right now. Kyle, what's going on pit road?
I'm more focused on Silvazzi's strategy. Rather than going to lap 50, he's going to 40 lap stints and pushing as hard as possible. I think he will inherit the lead here in front of Liam O'Sullivan, and I want to know by how much. Because if you replicate that, he will lead by that much more after each pit cycle. Since there will be one more pit cycle for Patrick, he'll need to be almost a whole lap ahead of Liam after he's completed his final stop in order to hope he is competitive.
We're now beginning to see those two strategies come into play. We're going to split it 40s and 50s. It's a risky strategy for Zovazzi to pull that off. We don't often see it drivers succeed, But if you can push harder, you're not restricted to worrying all too much about that tire wear because you know you're going to have a shorter run overall. So potentially, Patrick Zovazzi with this gamble having an opportunity to head down to pit road one more time and just use that aggression to build a gap. Right now, Zovazzi looks to be one of the net leaders here in this cycle and still making his way up as only 3 drivers technically remain on the lead lap. Waiting right now for Mark Murphy, who just turned it in, and the number 86 a few seconds behind. And it looks like right now it's going to be Cameron Bauschian who decides stay on the circuit no longer. It's going to be Cameron coming down to pit road while wiggling through. And now Jesper Uhrmann might be the final driver. He's getting his laps back, putting it back on. And it looks like it's going to be Jesper, I think, with the opportunities to see. He'll pass Zovazzi. And just like that, Patrick going to be behind the number 2 all over again as Jesper's eyeing a chance for the 2nd consecutive win. That being said, Jesper Uhrmann finds his way ahead of Patrick Zovazzi, one of the drivers who decided to go with this alternate strategy, and it looks like, again, the number 2 with that conventional strategy is in control. 55 laps in right now, Mark Murphy just got out on the circuit ahead of Patrick Zovazzi, although I do not believe he will be ahead of Jesper Uhrmann, and that he will not be. Jesper gets away, and the number 2 now going to be a half a second in front, 55 laps in out of 200. How about that for the number 2 machine? It looks like running a little bit longer is going to be the game plan that the best of these drivers can get out of it, because for Patrick, not able to inherit the lead, that is not the worst thing to hear. Of course, he's still inside the top 5, but it's not good news in the slightest, especially if he's aiming to go for that race victory. Right now, Jesper, the championship leader heading in, finds he and his teammate Mark Murphy first and second in the standings, and Mark right now running in 3rd overall. Not a bad placement to be, but it could be 2 consecutive 1-2s if, of course, they are to get by Liam O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan right now has been crashing the party for the past few laps. Well, he's still ahead, all the while his teammate in Julian Altena, not so much. Julian currently running in 12th, and it looks like pit road perhaps not as kind to him as his competitors right around him. 16 seconds behind for Julian, and it looks like right now on a much different strategy, an opportunity to go down and in early for a driver like Patrick Zovazzi. It looks like Julian went for just about a different route, and either way, going to be down and in 12th as it stands, looking to make some gains. All the while, the leaders right now going to be more distant than ever before. Craig Forsyth in a nice battle right now, and that's going to be with Matthias Strauss in the number 28. Take a look at Strauss as it stands. Looking at that driver telemetry, swapping between 5th and 6th gear, and you can see Strauss going to let off into the corners, get down even to 4th gear here at about 200 miles an hour, and now looking for the pass. Not enough momentum off of the corner, and Craig Forsyth remains advantageous. However, Strauss is real close, and of all the drivers inside the top 10, this remains the closest battle. Most other drivers have gotten themselves away and currently find themselves distant relative to each other. All the while, you see there, Craig Forsyth going 2 grooves higher than his competitor in that number 28. Craig trying to keep it up there in the back straightaway. He's got himself up and ahead. Looks like now you can see Strauss going to be passed once more. Craig Forsyth firmly finding himself in a good position to stay in 7th. Laps in out of 200 here. Craig Forsyth now seeing Strauss go down to that bottom once more. See right now, Strauss getting the run right under. Might be good to take the spot here, and side by side, another battle of that nature is brewing, and as Strauss looks to get the edge on Craig Forsyth, we'll put our eyes right back on another fight. Julian right now looks to have just lost the position, and it's going to be to the number 39, Matthias Kraus. Kraus now going to find his way a few tenths up and ahead, and a quick pass puts that driver now up in the 10th. The final spot in the top 10 going to be his. Gary Lovern now close to the number 15 of Cameron Bauschian, and you can see Cameron looking down under that green and purple number 86. All the while, Gary trying to keep himself just within the confines of the top 15, and those multiple grooves are once again coming into play. Mark Murphy right now going to find himself on a 9-lap tire stint for drivers such as Patrick Zovazzi, Andres Eek, Fyodor Dovchenko, Sheridan Wade, and Lorenzo Bonder. Inside the top 15 anyway, they're running that alternate strategy in which they've been on the track for more than 15, if not 20 laps. Right now for Patrick Zovazzi, he's been on the circuit for give or take 25 laps on this stint. So he's already more than halfway through his first cycle and has about 15 laps to go before he comes down and in. More of the same for Andres and Fyodor. Although I do believe that for those two, and Andres and Dovchenko, they should be able to push it a little bit longer, perhaps up to lap 82, lap 83 if they want to go for any more time. Jesper Orman going to find himself still advantageous by 2 seconds. Now in the midst of this battle between Gary Lovern and Cameron Bastian, it looks like Jesper just have to keep on navigating through the lapped traffic machines, more and more of which are going to be seen each and every time by. 18 drivers remain on the lead lap, and it's even less than that now, as a matter of fact. Meadows is 1 down, and everyone up to 16th, and Cameron Bastian is 1 lap down. If Cameron gets past here, which it looks like, Jesper's got his sights on it, we're going to see 15 drivers remaining on the lead lap. And Jesper moving up to that higher groove, getting the power down the back straight, and Cameron giving a lot of room to your race leader, very respectful of him. He's going to Jesper go right by and reinforce middle lane. Orman is now going to leave 15 drivers on the lead lap, and even less than that, it's now 14. And going down, they're all 1 down. It's going to be 13 drivers remaining on the lead lap, and time is still lost for a lot of those who are further on back. 69 laps in. Right now, Jesper Orman holds a very nice lead at the head of the field. Looks like now Patrick Zovazzi alone has not been able to catch up to Mark Murphy. Murphy got away, and ever since then, looks like Zovazzi has been very, very lonely. Andres Eek right now, number 77, rounds out the top 5. Then you got 6th in Fyodor Dovchenko, and overall the heart of the field is still going to battle. Take a look right now, and you'll see just ahead of Craig Forsyth, a few of those lappers still very tight to each other. Seb Alexander now just within the confines of this fight, maybe a chance to stick his nose into it. And the mid-pack staying as aggressive as ever, trying to look for opportunities, while most are single file and spread throughout the field. Right now for Julian, who's just ahead right now of the number 39 in Matthias Kraus. Altena running alone, no longer up at the front of the field like his Team VOR teammate in Liam O'Sullivan. Looks like the day has not really gone the best so far for this number 11 crew, and pit strategy is what sets them apart. In regards to Julian's run on the track, well, he finds himself in a much different strategy compared to those he's around, and that's only because a lot of these guys he's working with are on that alternate strategy. From Zovazzi down to Bonder, the number 37, about half of them are on that alternate strategy of going in one more time today. It could be the 3-stop strategy he's surrounded by for Julian, and track position has not come easy. Discussing the team championship so far, we're going to look at it once again. Indy Alliance Racing and IAR, they are clearly the first team on the order, and that's because, well, Mark Murphy, Jesper Orman, they got themselves a double podium, and was a first and second finish, no less, so they lead by double the points of their next best competitor in Altena Autosports. They have 52 points. Viper Racing comes in third, and NSR Motorsports is fourth in the team championship. Then is TI Racing, Team 4D Racing, and Team Watson Racing, rounding out the remainder of the overall campaign. 74 laps in at 200 so far. IAR off to a rocket start this season, and Jesper Orman looking to pull through for a second consecutive victory, now within 15 laps of pit cycle number 2. Jesper holding his own, looking further back to another lapped traffic battle. There's the number 86 machine of Cameron Baustian, and you can see Gary Lovern now looking right down and under for a pass. That's Sheridan Wade, and it looks like Wade going to be moved out of the way as the number 34 goes by for one. Cameron looking to make it double trouble. These two drivers have stuck around each other for the better part of 50 laps now, and it looks like they've got Sheridan Wade in the middle. Sheridan Wade sandwiched right now, trying to stay inside the top 15. Cameron eyeing 14th here, but hasn't quite been able to get it. Take a look on board now with that number 86, and you'll see him coming near. Down to the inside line. It looks like now Cameron going to keep it side by side, working down the back straight. Should have enough momentum to clear into the middle groove. And Cameron decides to stay low all the while. He's got the pass and convincingly makes a move up into 14th. Sheridan Wade down to 15th as such. As it stands right now, looks like Jesper Orman might be coming up another lapper in about a second's time. That will be the 37 of Lorenzo Bonder. And number 37, very quiet race so far for this team. And discussing Bonder, well, we look at him right now. He started in 22nd, and he's made his way up 10 positions so far to get in the 12th spot. Overall, he's done a fantastic job. And although we haven't seen much of him so far, the Brazilian in that number 37 showing he's got a knack for making gains under the green flag runs here. Maybe potential for a top 10 finish if there's some mistakes ahead of him. However, the first priority might be just trying to stay on the lead lap. 5 more laps on the tire sets right now for Craig Forsyth and Jesper Orman. For the number 37 of Bonder, though, he's got 4 laps older than Jesper Orman, so not a crazy difference, but the track position, it makes all the difference for these drivers. Jesper now coming around and on the way, back straightaway running. Number 2 is ahead by 3.3 seconds, and Liam O'Sullivan finds himself the runner-up driver even still. He's gone up and down the circuit and now sees a fight right behind, and that's going to be a battle once again between drivers in the mid-pack here. Take a look back, and that's going to be Cody Meadows working right now with Tom Holland. Holland has had an overall up and down day, but it's been categorized by staying in the back half of the field. Holland, one of the 2 drivers who missed the start of this race, and overall has been able to make himself up 2 positions, nothing else, and Cody Meadows just made it by. They're not battling for position, mind you, but they are battling for track real estate, and it looks like Cody's quicker, getting by Holland relatively easily anyway, and number 3 remains on the move. 82 laps in, pit road due to be very busy very soon. The second cycle going to begin for drivers like Patrick Zovazzi. As it stands for Patrick, he's ran a total now of more than 35 laps on his set. We talk about specific numbers right now. Zovazzi has run a total of 41, Andres Eek 39, and a few other noteworthy numbers to go with it. Jordan Evans has run 46 laps on his stint, one of the largest numbers of any driver in the field. And number 83, that's the lap we're on. Patrick is due to come down to pit road eventually here, unless perhaps he's going to be shifting his focus to going longer. Although I doubt that now, as we're seeing the speeds for the number 17 staying on the track this time by no signal to come down and in. But Patrick might have his eyes set on going just a little bit longer here as he moves on to his 42nd lap on this stint, and a battle persists. It's going to be now Matthias Kraus and Craig Forsyth. Forsyth has been gradually losing time to Matthias in the past few laps, and you can see there Kraus is quick and clearly makes it by. Matthias on a 5-lap younger set of rubber, gonna make some late gains in this stint, and a quick move around Craig Forsyth, all he needs to certify that pass. Caution's out for the first time tonight, and the yellow flag will fly. Reason being, as you looked around the field, it is going to be smoke billowing down the back straightaway, and as drivers make it by who look to be in good standing, we're going to see who was the official cause there, and it looks like with the smoke billowing back, there's the iRacing official pace car. We're going to pull the tape back 30 seconds. Yellow flag is out, and the caution will fly for the first time tonight. Can you believe it? After nearly half of this race run fully green, we've got trouble here in Texas. Taking an instant replay on the matter, this will show you exactly what caused it here. Yellow flag is out for the first time today. And we're going to be bringing back the tape to show exactly what it gave way to our first incident. It looks like Raid Rizza is going to be the cause, and we're going to take a back. First yellow flag of the day. Sheridan Wade looks to have very recently disconnected as well. So we'll take a look right back now to the number 22 of Raid Rizza. Coming through turns 1 and 2, look to be just fine, and then catches the back straightaway wall, and that will shoot him down. So it looks like a little bit of understeer for the number 22, and we'll play that lap back. He went down to pit road immediately here, but here's one more replay from Raid Rizza on board, the cause of the first caution night, first yellow flag, and it's going to be the reason. Of course, single car incident. Rizza, not enough turning out of the corner, was not able to compensate. Yellow flag is out. Nobody else seems to be caught up in it, and Rizza still on pit road. Might be terminal damage for today's event, and it looks like right now Jesper Orman among others right now, the lappers at the head of this pack. Orman still the head of this field. Cautions out for Raid Rizza, first yellow flag of the day, and if you're joining us right now, you're watching the Lovers Incorporated 300, the second race of the season here in the VOR INDYCAR Series, and early troubles, relatively speaking, are going to bring us down to our halfway point with the first yellow flag of the day in mind. Once again, I'd like to thank Lovers Incorporated, providing professional service in renovation, remodeling, painting, and mold removal for government, commercial, and residential products. The sponsors for today's event, bringing you tonight's coverage on the VOR Racing Network. Of course, hope if you enjoyed tonight's racing, you'll leave a like on the stream and subscribe. Jesper decides to stay out. All the while, you're seeing a little bit of a split. The lappers are going to go in, and the leaders, more than not, they stay on the racing circuit. So now, pit road, you're going to see guys such as Dan Ench come in. Here comes the number 37 Machina Bonder. And right now, some of the Team VOR guys further back in the pack have also made their way. Let's see the names that are coming out of pit road as we speak. And see right now, on and in, Lorenzo Bonder. There's Raid Rizza with the damage. Aiden Millward on the way, and so is Jordan Evans with Dan Ench, Nate Fields, and then you see John Christensen alongside his VOR teammate in Gary Lovern. Overall, leaders have decided to stay out, maybe waiting to go to pit road the next time by. Overall, though, the field has decided to decline the option, and they will stay on the circuit. We're anticipating what happens next here, because this could be the game-changing lap. 88 laps in, this time by, first paced laps of the day, and pit road is going to get busy once more. Jesper Orman coming through turns 3 and 4, this time by. All to go down to pit road. It looks like it will not be answered, and the field will stay out and away here as we're going to come back to green the next time by. Orman going to be the race leader, and Liam O'Sullivan then second. Third spot on the order is going to be Mark Murphy and Andres Eek, position number 4 indeed. The lappers are now going to go by, and the pace car is signaling one lap to green. 89 laps in out of 200, and we'll come back green at the 90 marker. It's going to be Orman, Liam O'Sullivan, the 1-2 drivers to bring us back. And so the field settles down once again with a half lap remaining. You've got your leader in Jesper Orman and the remainder of the lead pack right there with. And you can see right now 14 drivers left on the lead lap going back to Cody Meadows. So Meadows back with the leaders in the field here. Most drivers not going to affect their strategies as they've all stayed out on the circuit, expecting to see pit road once again become busy in about 10 laps time at the very most here. And we're going to come back at it this time through Jesper Orman, Liam O'Sullivan, the 1-2 leaders, with Mark Murphy then and there in third. Andreas Eek going to be fourth, and Seb Alexander fifth. Patrick Zovazzi, position number 6, and Matthias Strauss in 7th. Here we go again. Orman in control, and the field's going to grab a gear for the first restart of the night. Let's get at it once again. Restart here from Texas, and Orman leads the way. Jesper going to find himself up in front, but now it's going to be a little bit more competition. Liam O'Sullivan immediately takes that spot back, and you can see O'Sullivan pouncing on the opportunity. He's got himself now advantageous with Liam O'Sullivan up in front. He'll bring Mark Murphy right there with 2 new race leaders, and they're going to be first and second as it stands, working down the back straightaway. Now you can see as it stands for Liam O'Sullivan, he's got himself quick to be aggressive on these restarts, but the question becomes, what can he do without his teammate? Julian, now running in 8th, has gotten back inside the top 10, however, not enough to get back within the winning confines, at least for the time being. You see Indy Alliance Racing still going to be with their 2nd and 3rd drivers in the field, Mark Murphy and Jesper Orman, who got a double podium, a 1-2 finish at Homestead, looking to do so once again. The leading team and the best drivers to kick off the season. Now see Andreas Eek going up to the high side, and Patrick Zovazzi there too. It was a total reset thanks to the caution regarding strategy. The few drivers indeed have to come down to pit road once again, but now opportunities for guys like the number 77 and Andreas Eek going through, working down the back straight. Here comes Eek. He's got it up high. Orman's right down low, and it looks like now Andreas with enough momentum chasing Mark Murphy to make it work. 2 by 2 up at the head of the field, and all of a sudden it looks like less emphasis on saving to go all the way. We should see one more big pit cycle at about lap 140, and O'Sullivan cuts down to the bottom of the track, looking to keep that lead all to himself. 94 in, out of 200. Here comes Andreas Eek up to the high side once again. Watch on board right now with that number 77. We'll keep an eye on the telemetry too. You can see exactly what's going on inside the cockpit using various gears. These drivers have been using 4th to 6th all throughout the night. Looks like right now 5th gear for Andreas, getting the revs up to nearly 12,000 and pulling through out of turn 4. A massive run in the air and using that toe to stay neck and neck. That time by Mark Murphy going to lead the lap, and Liam O'Sullivan stays to the bottom in 1 and 2, just trying to put the power down, but it looks like it's going to be Murph now up and in front. Mark is going to get the advantage out of the corner. The number 12 machine of Liam O'Sullivan lies back in 2nd now, and you can see maybe a few more moves being made back of the pack. It looks like Julian trying to replicate these successful leaders in trying to get around Patrick Zovazzi and Andreas Eek. This is the best opportunity Julian has to get back in the mix, however treacherous it may be. It looks like now the number 11 has a chance, and it has to swoop down to the bottom of Patrick Zovazzi in a moment's notice. There goes Julian for 7th, now looking for 6th, going up high. Here comes Julian on another of those IAR guys. It's Andreas Eek, and now he's in an Indy Alliance Racing bubble. He's got Eek right ahead of him, and when you go beyond Andreas, you have Mark Murphy and Liam O'Sullivan, but the VOR boys are still in the fight. And while Andreas has himself now the race lead, you've also got Seb Alexander, and Seb is right there as well. Seb Alexander, the number 45, fighting all throughout the pack, 1st to 5th, and then beyond.
I think it's possible these drivers learn their lesson after the first run, that they've got to take the time when they have it to make a run. Otherwise, the leaders will just walk away from you.
Kyle, coming back to this one, we're beyond our halfway point. We've had 1 caution so far, and the 2nd caution will fly. Back of the field, looks like it's going to be trouble for the driver of the number 34. Gary Lovern is destroyed. Yellow flag is out for the 2nd time today.
Lorenzo Bonder was also collected there.
Seeing what happened here with Bonder and Lovern. Gary was in the middle groove. And as he comes out of 2, oh, very similar to Raid Rizza. And Bonder got the worst of it. Lovern ends up swooping back up high. But you see what happens to that number 37. Terminal damage for the both of these drivers. And it looks like Lovern damaged beyond repair. And same goes for Lorenzo Bonder and drivers who will be out of this race as a result of that incident. Bonder was trying to limp it through, and you can see smoke billowing out of the back straightaway for the second time today. And riding on board with the 37, you'll see it all play out from his perspective.
And Christensen's done for the day as well. He's got terminal damage.
Bonder going to be ripped apart as we look at it. And, yep, John Christensen, who caught that additional contact. And one more with them. It looks to be the nose cone gone for another driver, and that was Tom Holland. So Holland also has what looks to be terminal damage from the front and the rear being severely shattered. So Tom Holland, John Christensen, Lorenzo Bonder, and Gary Lovern involved. That is a 4-car caution. It's our biggest of the day, and it's our second. 101 laps in out of 200. Now we're down to the double digits remaining here, and we find ourselves in the second half of this race with our second caution on the night.
Cautions breed cautions. The adage is as old as time. The drivers see the laps ticking down and the gaps getting shorter because it's all been eliminated from the last yellow. They see it as an opportunity. They push it a little harder, put the elbows out, grab another driver, and maybe they both go around. I would not be surprised to see that happen again.
Now, hopefully we can get out of this funk, but it looks like you're right about that, Kyle. Second caution coming just about 10 laps after our first. Find ourselves pacing once more. However, Jesper Orman and company going to go in to top off once more. Jesper, Liam O'Sullivan, Mark Murphy, Andreas Eek, and Seb Alexander, the top 5. And we previously were keeping our eyes peeled on Patrick Zovazzi and company, who were running that alternate strategy. Well, that strategy is, at least for now, out of the picture. Patrick has once again reset himself in 6th, going down to pit road into that first yellow. And now everyone seems to be on the same page. Once again, with 99 laps to go. Very little variation throughout the field. And as such, Orman in control again. Although Liam O'Sullivan was giving a real hard fight previously. And now, Liam finds his teammate Julian, who dropped out of the top 10 in the first stint. He's back there inside the top 5.
Yeah, there is no alternate strategy now. It's one stop and you're home. It's going to depend on whether or not you want to save the fuel here in this last stint to have maybe a shorter fill at the finish. But with the amount that tires degrade, you're going to have to take them anyway. I think that it's just flat out from here, no holds bar racing to the end of this one in Texas.
Expecting to see racing in the coming 2 laps. We'll be back green at lap 104. Jesper Orman going to be the man who leads us back in. Looks like you see Fyodor Dovzhenko and Andres Eek also up in front, and the reason being, while Orman might have led them all out of pit road, it looks like Dovzhenko is the one driver who decided to keep himself out and away. A huge gain for Fyodor, and as such, for the first time today, it's now number 96 team as the race leader. So an interesting turn of events right there for Dovzhenko, as he's going to take us back to the green flag. Doesn't look to be coming down a pit road, so a brand new face at the head of the field. We'll see what that entails, as the pace car is going to state it again. 1 lap to green. We'll be back racing with 97 left.
Nothing like a little bit of sponsor airtime, right? Run up front and get them on in front of all of you guys at YouTube who decided to tune in today. Thanks for joining us.
Right now, got a strong crowd on the VOR Racing Network getting a taste of this number 96 for the first time. And you mentioned it, perhaps the first opportunity he's had all season long to really be at the spotlight. And Fyodor hasn't had a bad race by any means. However, it has been all over the place. He qualified inside the top 10. This is, of course, the first time he's been leading all day. However, he has been running in the confines of the top 15 mostly all throughout. 19th was his lowest spot, which was all throughout the longest run we had, where only 14 were left on the lead lap. There still are only 14 drivers remaining, but after that shift in the cautions, looks like Dovzhenko's gotten himself back with the leaders and is looking to take the field to green for the first time under his power tonight. iRacing pace car is going to leave the field B for the second restart here in the Lone Star State. Let's see what Fyodor can do here, as the field's going to get back to full power. At the helm is the number 96 coming up to that Geico restart zone. Got to watch out maybe for some screeching tires here. Hopefully nothing comes of it, and Dovzhenko gets away without error.
And this is where he's going to be mirror driving. He wants to place the dirty air on the second place car, so that way, even though they're going to build a run on him down the backstretch, it won't be all out of turn 2. He can protect the bottom here going into 3 if he chooses, or it happens. No block was thrown. So that's a little bit of clean and green driving, whereas maybe if you were more desperate, you would pull the wheel to the left and dial up that white line and block off your competitors.
And Andres Eek going to make their way by for the race lead quickly, bringing right with them Jesper Orman. And all of a sudden, it looks like, well, Dovzhenko got away from the guys beyond the top 3, but it looks like already being swallowed back up. Julian fighting side by side right now with his teammate Liam O'Sullivan. It's the battle for 5th, and it looks like O'Sullivan once again put ahead of the flagship driver here for Altena Autosport and the Team VOR crew. Right now, Mark Murphy going to be 4th and coming right up on Dovzhenko. Jesper Orman in a very comfortable position. Andres has not yet been a consistent race leader. He's been up there inside the top 5 in those confines for most of the race, but really hasn't shown his muscle in regards to being the lone driver up at the head of the field. With that being said, maybe now an opportunity to go for that defensive driving, as you mentioned, Kyle, and Jesper taking it up to the top of the track, looking to power out.
Andreas, what is that you hear in your ear? It's the Texas Whisperer. Jesper, side by side, dials up the high side, and he's going to have sole control of the lead here, coming out of 3 and 4.
And it's still going to be very close for Jesper, almost getting that power out, but it's still going to be neck and neck all the same. Here comes Eek, looking low, and he's got himself a pass to get back in the race lead, but it will be all for naught as they remain just about dead even. Working down the back straightaway, I think Orman has that clear advantage down the straights, which eventually, if all were to go well for him, he should be able to power through, but he'll lie back once again and decide to let Eek once again hold that control. Everyone inside the top 15 right now, besides Dovzhenko, is on a brand new set of Firestone rubber. It looks like they're all dead even in regards to tire. Now it's all about what you make of it as a driver, and maybe Andres pushing a little harder knowing Jesper's right behind him.
Jesper could also be tapping into the fact that there's one stop yet to go. He could be considering less fuel. He could be considering just saving his tires. I know that he was married to the white line in the first stint of the race, but it looks like now he's preferring clean air.
And clean air working wonders for him so far. If we talk about the lap times and the lap speeds for everyone that time by, back up into the 210s. Keep in mind as this run goes on, expecting to see 5 or 6 miles of degradation across these drivers in terms of their lap speeds. Should be a couple of tenths, a second and a half at the very most, but right now everyone in the 210 to 11 range. Jesper running a 211 in the toe of Andres, and Andres ran a 210.802 in regards to miles an hour, and it looks like Fyodor Dovzhenko still being passed, and rapidly right now as he fades back even further. It's now going to be Dovzhenko down to 6th, letting both of the Altena Autosport drivers by, and now fading out for the first time out of the top 5. And here comes with him Patrick Zovassi. Andres right now going to be the man who leads the way. You can see that number 77 still facing the pressure right up top. Here goes Jesper once again, and he's looking to make the move through turns 1 and 2.
He's got the momentum down the backstretch. He kept the wheel unbound for turn 2. Let's see if he pinches Ike going into 3 and 4. Plenty of racing room between the two, and Orman's going to slot back into second.
Jesper not yet really going to make that offensive maneuver to try to get by quickly. Looks like holding that aggression back, at least for now anyway. Be trying to wait for a later opportunity as this race progresses. Still looking back in the middle of this field. Dovchenko passed once again. That's by Seb Alexander. So it looks like now Seb going to make that move, getting up into position number 7. Patrick Zovazzi still ahead as well. And another close battle at the tail end of the lead lap. Cody Meadows, and fighting with him, Matthias Strauss. The number 3 machine of Meadows has been able to make it back up inside the top 15. And now looking for a fight with Craig Forsyth and the 4D race team, their flagship man inside the top 10. So far running very solidly, but nothing all too outstanding from Forsyth, the man who we expected some big things out of. He started today 8th, as high as 5th, but overall he's been bubbling around the bottom side of the top 10 all throughout the day, and Cody Meadows even might take that accolade away from him. 85 laps remaining. With time ticking down here, Kyle, it looks like Jesper deciding to stay further back. We're about, 30 laps away from what could be the final pit stops of the night. So drivers have time, and you think right now some of these guys further on back are going to be laying back, or will they decide to push a little further right now to get closer in the final run? Looks like for the time being right now, most drivers don't quite have the answer. Still going to be back and forth in regards to strategy, but the question of aggression is going to come up for those outside the top 5, and I'm beginning to wonder, maybe they're going to be pulling themselves a little further back right now, waiting to reel the field in later, or are we going to see drivers push harder right now just to try to cut that distance up before the final stops? And of course, right now, a question yet to be answered. We'll see Julian Altena running inside of the top 10 now up to 5th. Got his teammate Liam O'Sullivan running then the 4th spot, and Mark Murphy then there is in 3rd within 1 second as it stands, as Jesper Orman and Andres E continue to run away and getting close to being side by side yet again, but not quite. The number 77 still got himself the race lead, and the gap, while about 15 hundredths of a second is not major, he's kept that clean air well as he possibly can all throughout.
Not only that, their side-by-side racing has produced a wall of dirty air for Mark Murphy and the VOR cars. It helps suppress them from the standpoint of the 2 leaders. So if you're Jesper, passing the leader may not result in a better finish for you. Right now, you're suppressing 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So why not just wait in 2nd until the opportunity arises to take the lead?
Waiting perhaps for a mistake, or more importantly, waiting for that pit cycle, which is inevitable here. 80 laps to go, and the field remains largely cut up into very small groupings of 2 or 3 drivers. Andre is still running low and running all the way down to that paint for defensive driving. He's gotten himself an A, if not better than that. As you can see, Jesper still not yet looking for that way around, and he's going to decide to go to the middle, lay off once again. And it looks like that's just going to be the story of this race in the final few laps anyway. It might change, but right now, beyond the halfway point, most drivers going to be a little bit more conservative. We saw a blip of 2 cautions. We've gotten ourselves back in a green flag rhythm. Zovazzi right now going to be in the mix with Mark Murphy. And Mark right now going to be just ahead. There's that number 69. And Murphy right now running ahead of Liam O'Sullivan as well. Mark has not had a bad day by any means, but has not been able to keep up with his teammate in Jesper Orman. So maybe we will not see a second consecutive 1-2 finish. Overall, leading the championship standings by a wide margin, Jesper is, alongside Murphy. Maybe a chance for both of them to go back for podiums, but Andreas going to make it very, very challenging for the both of them to go up 1 spot apiece.
Yeah, nothing bad with 2 out of the 3 podium spots, right? May not be 1-2, but at least you're 2-3.
And they'll have a huge championship lead, both in the drivers and the manufacturers after this, no matter what happens. That's, of course, if they keep themselves on the track, which is never a guarantee, but they've done a real good job so far. I would not be surprised to see them up inside the podium by the time the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, at this point, as we kind of creep in or dial in on these last stops, staying on the track will probably be the easy part. The hard part is when you have to dive off the track to go to pit road and get all the way down to the glacially slow 45-mile-an-hour pit speed. It's bit me before. In fact, I've run over Mark Murphy here in a Tuesday night fixed race top split. When he tried to pit, I didn't hear the call and plowed right into him. So you got to check your mirrors, make sure it's clear behind you, and you get down to speed and do not get a penalty.
A penalty would be about a lap, if not more, a killer for anyone's race, especially with the type of driving we've been having. A lot of green flag racing, more than half of the field, or effectively now, give or take half the field, out of winning contention just because they're not on the lead lap any longer. You've got to keep yourself just about as sharp as you can every lap, and a mistake like that is major, but it definitely can happen. Keep in mind the pit road speed is down to 45 miles an hour, and when you're running more than 4 times that as the average race pace, I mean, these green flag laps are over 200 miles an hour, even if you're going slow. It's not going to be easy to make that transition down and in, even if you're very, very calm and conservative. But if you're aggressive there looking for spots, you might catch yourself out and make a major mistake, especially with dying laps coming up next. And 72 laps to go this time by. Most drivers are just about 25 to 30 laps into their run. So we're coming up with about 20 laps to go, give or take, before the mass exodus down to pit road. And that will determine everything. Most of these drivers right now, one stop is the goal, just to get it over with and get back on the way, which should be possible even if you come down as early as with 60 to go, or if you stretch it a little bit longer. It could be possible to go longer or shorter than both of that, but I don't think anyone wants to go for 2 stops here, Kyle. 1 stop is the goal.
Yeah, 2 stops is definitely out of the question. However, you may see a lot of drivers try the undercut because there's tire fall off, and you may see drivers try the overcut if there's a caution, trapping people in the danger zone, as they love to call it on the NBC broadcasts. If you could be in the lead when the yellow comes out, you'll have fresh tires, or the freshest tires, and potentially have some of your fastest competitors trapped a lap down who need to take the wave around by abstaining to pit under that yellow.
We'll see whether or not that risk is worth taking. That's the tricky part. You can't really see what's coming up in front of you here in the future. And I'm sure a lot of these drivers love to have that power, but if you don't have it, you don't have it, and that's as simple as. Right now, these 2 drivers have run away by 2 seconds over Mark Murphy. It's Jesper Orman and Andres Eek who find themselves now up in their own world. Really nobody else with them. Lappers, leaders, or otherwise. Drivers now find themselves alone in the fight amongst each other, and it's a really tricky circumstance for the both of them here, of course, trying to figure out when's the right time to strike. And so far they've just been laying back, waiting for time to keep on passing, and nobody's really shown any signs of making a big move. However, now Jesper goes down the inside and cuts low for the first time. Now I think the 2's just about had it, and coming down to the front straightaway, Andres with just a good enough run down the front straight, but it looks like the advantage is Orman going into 1 and 2.
Saw Ike give up the bottom, and he said, "That's mine. Get out of my way. I'm going to lead from here on out."
And there you have it. Jesper makes the move and has gotten up to the race lead. The number 2 now advantageous. Now we question, can Andres do anything, or has Jesper just been saving to make this happen and now plow away, trying to drive himself out of the trouble he's been in and try to make up more of that track position? He led by several seconds over everyone else in that first longer stint. Now it's an opportunity maybe to do so once again.
Yeah, now he has unfettered and uncontested access to the white line, which he so dearly loves. I think there's a proposal coming, perhaps, if he makes it to victory lane.
Andrea still staying right on the back bumper, but we're slowly but surely starting to see that distance grow. It looks like Jesper, definitely with the pace to beat tonight, has once again made the move necessary for the race lead, and you can see Eek is fading back and fast. 65 laps to go this time by, and still counting down. If you look further back to the remainder of the field, now Seb Alexander fighting side by side with Julian Altena, and Seb trying to keep Julian at bay. That will move Altena out of the top 5, and now no longer are the Team VOR drivers alongside each other. Altena Autosport split up. Liam O'Sullivan going to be 4th. Julian now going to be in 6th. And Patrick Zovazzi still a little bit further back as they're in position number 7. A nice move for Seb Alexander, which moves him inside the top 5 once more. Mark Murphy going to be the 3rd spot, and 2.3 seconds back on your leader. Just enough spot to stay ahead of Liam O'Sullivan, but O'Sullivan is slowly but surely, I think, been making some gains here. Maybe a chance for him to cut that gap down further and make a pass in the final laps of this one.
Yeah, O'Sullivan's got Murphy in his sights, but what a call to the IAR team, having all three of their cars in the top 5 here. What an excellent execution from them today.
And even though Seb Alexander, their final driver tonight, has been definitely much quieter, he's been able to do exactly what he needs to stay inside the top 5, as you mentioned, Kyle. Overall, for his day, he was as low as 23rd because he started in 23rd. He was at the dead end of the field, and even though we had 2 drivers miss the start of this race, he was able to jump up from that bottom step on the final row, and he's up here inside the top 5, looking comfortably for another great run. And Seb Alexander keeping up with the flagship team here of IAR. They're looking for another fantastic day to continue dominating the championship standings coming out of Texas.
Tell you what, David, a quiet day for Seb Alexander is always a big win. We like to say in the fixed circuit, if there wasn't anything but bad luck for Seb, he'd have no luck at all.
Well, at the very least,
seems like
he's been pretty much.
It seems like he gets snake bit almost every race, either by netcode or somebody else's dumb decision. But he's been keeping his nose clean today, which is exactly what he likes to see.
100%. He's been at the very least very quiet today is what we're getting at. It's good for him. Definitely a top 5 driver on the best of his days, and he's putting in that performance right now with the speed to go with. 59 laps to go, though we are coming down to the very tail end, and as such, we're going to begin to see those drivers head down to pit road once more for the final time. Most drivers have still not yet made the call just yet anyhow. Jesper Worma now ahead by more than a second, even though he would love to wrap it up and call it a checkered flag. We've still got ourselves about a quarter of this race still remaining. It might not feel like that. I think these drivers have their sights set on the end more than anything else, but we've still got many spots to decide, as you're going to see a quick pass. That's going to be drivers fighting outside right now of the lead lap category, and it looks like Kraus in that number 39 getting by on Patrick Zovazzi. That is the move for 7th. Otherwise, though, we are just laps away from heading down to pit road en masse, and it's going to be a huge run through for the entirety of this field. Jesper Orman now going to find his way in that number 2 machine. 57 laps remaining, looking to finish the job. Still waiting to see the final calls to pit road.
He has a 1.5 seconds over Ike, but that lapper there chose to pit early. It would have been the first he encountered, and for now, it allows him to avoid the dirty wash. The next car up the road is going to be Aiden Millward, looking about a whole turn ahead right now. I'd say it's about 8 laps or so until Jesper would catch that car, and if all goes well, Jesper should pit before he does. So lap traffic won't be a factor here before the pit stops, but it might be after.
And it was Jordan Evans who went down to pit road just before Jesper got there. So it looks like with just enough of a buffer of 5 or 6 laps, Jesper should stay alone at least for the final few times around, and will come home perhaps or interfered on the final few laps with the lappers, which we saw in that first stint. Everyone was shuffled around after the pit cycle. Some drivers who came in with good track position lost it, and some others who weren't coming in the best circumstances, well, they were able to gain. So perhaps we're going to see more of the same, and that shuffle is going to be almost inevitable here with 54 laps remaining. The closest battle inside the top 10 looks to be right now Cameron Baustin, and right with them, Matthias Kraus. It looks like Patrick Zovazzi just got passed by Cameron, and now up into 8th. A quick move for the 86 is exactly what he needed. That's going to be up into the 8th spot right now for the number 86. Cameron, not a half bad day for this team, as it looks like he's been running alone and doing a real good job of which. Pit road still not going to be taken for any of your top 10 guys, and we're watching with Jesper. If he tries to go the undercut, or if he decides to go in after a little bit longer of a run, that's still up to him, and the decision has not yet been made. And at the stripe again, he stays out, as does the remainder of the field.
We're going to have our first taker here. It will be Silvazzi, who commits to pit road here off of turn 4. See if this
Patrick
undercut will
comes
help
down a
him.
low one in this one. Go on, Kyle.
I was just going to say, we'll see if he can have the undercut pay dividends. He'll be about 3 to 4 tenths a lap faster. He tried this on the first run, and it didn't allow him to get to the lead like I had thought, but he did make up substantial track position on the front half of the run. How this could play out perfectly for him is if it goes maybe 10 to 15 to 20 laps before the tires get really old, but everyone else chooses to pit as well, he'll have made up a couple of seconds. However, he overshot his pit box, so any advantage he's going to gain on these fresh tires, on these fresh Firestones, is probably thrown away.
And there with him is Liam O'Sullivan in the number 12. Does O'Sullivan miss his stall? He does not. And it looks like looking for the same strategy as is Patrick Zilvazzi. However, he'll have the opportunity to gain just a little bit more. And now the number 12 on the way, making it out all the same. And 2 drivers have come in so far. And it looks like as it stands, Jesper Orman not showing signs of commitment. He will decide to stay out on the circuit, and as does Andreas Eek right there behind him, still looking for guys who are showing signs. Mark Murphy comes around, stays on the circuit, and Liam O'Sullivan now some of the first drivers to come in. O'Sullivan and Zilvazzi. Meanwhile, nobody else is committed at a turn 4 this time by.
Ike will be pitting this time, and I am worried for Mark Murphy. Liam O'Sullivan was close enough to him where this undercut will allow O'Sullivan to dictate the end of this race. If Murphy doesn't come to pit road soon or catch a yellow, he's going to have a mountain to climb to find himself on the podium.
Now it's going to be Ike making the way in, number 77 on its lonesome, and that team comes through solo. Mark Murphy staying out as we watch coming down the back straightaway. Murphy going to have a little bit more trouble dealing with some of these drivers who are due to get their lap back. Watching Liam O'Sullivan right now, well, we do that, and you'll see he's right around Cameron Baustin, who is in 6th, and is still, give or take, 12 seconds away from the leader in Orman. Of course, that's going to change, and pit road is a little bit, well, it's definitely much slower, actually, than being on a full green flag lap. The difference in time is about 10 or 15 seconds, and that is not including the time to commit and go in, and of course the time to get on the way out. And it looks like now Liam O'Sullivan ahead of Andreas Eek. He gets that spot. Now the big question is getting ahead of Jesper Orman. However, Andreas is very close now, that number 12. I don't think it's going to be easy, but maybe O'Sullivan with a chance to run those good laps with warm tire, getting a chance to get back up there, as Jesper has indeed committed and gone down to pit road with 46 laps to go, as has Craig Forsyth.
Liam will be the car to watch here relative to Mark Murphy. I think that'll be the only position switch we'll see from the undercut strategy. Now, Mark will have fresher tires for the home stretch to the checkered flag, but O'Sullivan gets to dictate the line if he makes the pass here on pit exit, which he does handily.
And Mark Murphy now making his way out. Looks like still far enough behind on Jesper Orman. It's not going to mean all too much. And the advantage overall, well, the race lead is with Julian Altena, but it looks like Jesper Orman once again in control, regardless of what every other driver has attempted. Jesper is here with 45 laps remaining, and he has not come to play around. He's once again in the prime position for the race victory, and now has to make it through this final stretch to come home advantageous.
Liam really knocked that pit stop out of the park. He passed both Andreas Ike and Mark Murphy. I think Murph is in a lot of trouble here. He's just now entering turn 3, whereas they are exiting, or they're at the start-finish line. So Murphy either missed his box or had a slow stop, because Jesper did not suffer the same type of time loss on pit road that Murphy did.
And discussing the time on pit road, well, let's look at that in more detail, see if there's any real big discrepancy in regards to Mark Murphy. 33.1 seconds in pit lane and 8.7 in the box. Jesper Orman was 32.7, so it looks like about a half a second. The difference between those two on pit road, and that half a second can mean a world of a difference. And 33.1 was one of the slower times overall inside the top 10, so Murphy definitely lost time throughout. That's going to give way to Andreas Eek being now the final contender for a podium with Liam O'Sullivan, and I think Liam's going to eventually drop back here if Andreas just knows how to work these final laps right.
Well, they're going to have a dogfight in the meantime, and O'Sullivan has the preferred line. So what he could do is wrap the white line, put the dirty air on Ike's front wing, and hope to warm up his tires and make him push around the track. You see here, he dives to the inside on the backstretch to try to protect the bottom, which is the preferred line all the way around this racetrack.
Now O'Sullivan going to be trying that bottom side, hoping to make it work out. Andres got the speed and got the younger set of rubber, so the advantage is right now in his favor here. The number 77 goes high, and it looks like going to back down to go a little bit lower. A little bit of a nicer run out of the back straight once again. O'Sullivan once again defending, and to be all about repeating the same correct decisions for O'Sullivan. He does not want to give away that bottom side, and Andres knows as well as anyone, if you give away the bottom side of the circuit, it's all but done for. Not going to be easy, but I think right now O'Sullivan knows he's at the disadvantage and is in jeopardy, of all honesty, of losing that spot in just a moment's notice.
Ike is doing something really interesting in both 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, where he'll kind of park the car at the corner apex and then dive beneath O'Sullivan to get the run from his draft. Rather than prioritizing corner center speed to roll the top, he's focusing on getting the best exit possible, which is manifested in him being side by side with his rear tires on O'Sullivan's fronts.
See, now Andres going to have this slight advantage at the start-finish line, still dead even in regards to tires. Once again, Andres has a 3-lap younger set overall, and those laps are going to be much more of a difference later in the going. Going up high once again. It's been this repetition side by side all over
He's clear.
again. And it looks like, yes, now Andres for the first time was clear, but O'Sullivan once again diving deep. Not going to make it easy once more, but I think now Liam is slipping, and you might see that same practice happen again out of the back straightaway and have Andres once again advantageous.
It's right there in the center of the corner. Andres slows down so he can full throttle Matt off the corner, and he's going to pull ahead uncontested this time. Move him back up into the second position.
A fantastic move there from Andres Eek. That's going to be good for second. And even though he's 4 seconds back right now, and Jesper Ullmann, the next best spot, of course, the runner-up position, it's now his and his only. Liam O'Sullivan is still firmly in third. He does not look to be in any jeopardy of losing a position. Keep himself right now in that third position, rounding out the podium. Mark Murphy several seconds behind and running on his own. The closest battle in the entire circuit looks to be right now the final drivers inside of the top 10. Matthias Strauss coming up on Dan Ench. Looks like right now Dan going to be in 8th, and Dan is slow. It looks like for Ench, he's going to be not committing to go down a pit road, but especially slow through those final 2 turns, and he gives Strauss the pass immediately.
Yeah, so Dan was previously a lap down. He's stretched this run as far as possible. His tires are probably absolutely shot. He's pitting in this time by to get to the end. He was hoping the overcut, the extreme overcut there would get him his lap back and position here for the final run with the best tires, but it never materialized.
And now Ange going to be making it down and in with about 34 laps to go as the field goes by. Dan getting up inside the top 10, but it looks like that will be all for naught. All the while, looking back up at the head of the field, maybe another battle beginning to brew with the drivers who still remain 8th, 9th, and 10th, but a second of distance is an awful lot here at this track, and you can see in Texas, those seconds mean an awful lot indeed, not only in regards to the timing, but also in regards to the air that you're working with here. Clean air and dirty air has meant all the difference for the leaders, and it's more the same for these drivers who are in the middle of the pack experiencing everything. They've dealt with the lappers, they've dealt with the leaders, and drivers are still coming out of pit road. Aerodynamically speaking, there's still a lot going on for the majority of this pack, and you see these separations. It's not easy to make passes, especially when we're settled into this run as we are now. Jesper Ullmann has settled himself in with the cleanest air of all on his own, and lappers have really not come up for him just yet, and I can't imagine they will anytime soon, maybe the tail end of this race, but nobody is within 2 or 3 seconds of the number 2, and coming down the back straightaway at the same time that Ullmann enter it. There's only one driver he might run into in the coming laps, and that would be Cameron Baustian, but Cameron is still several seconds up, about 3.5 as it stands, and the leaders are still far apart from the lappers.
Cameron's done a good job keeping that Team Watson car on the lead lap today, and I don't think he would get in Jesper's way here in the closing laps. These guys are in a tight-knit league-like community where they all know each other. They know they're going to be back on the racetrack the next stop on the schedule, why make somebody mad, especially when they're faster than you? Maybe you can learn something from them instead. In the Iconic Series and this series alike, people respect the blue flags. It's a part of the league etiquette and a part of the league rules. I've never seen anybody disregard them yet, and if they have, or if they will, I'm sure they won't be long for the league.
29 laps remaining, and right now Cameron, he's still up there. I mean, even though he's very far behind, that's a top 10 run he's in. 21 seconds back, and most drivers have been falling by the wayside. It's been a night of attrition, even though we've only had 2 yellow flags, and keeping up with the strategy, a very, very challenging job. And if you've stayed on the lead lap 170 plus laps, you've definitely been working yourself out quite well as a driver. And if you're still here, pretty good shot you'll lock yourself in with a lead lap finish before it's all said and done. Craig Forsyth is now 1 lap down. He was running solidly beforehand, but just fell out of favor. And same goes for guys like Fyodor Dovchenko, who was previously leaving a lap, and Nate Fields, Jordan Evans, and Aiden Millward, who are still with us here. It looks like about 20 drivers are still on the track. Not all of them are racing. Tom Holland, after that second wreck, did come back on the circuit, and now is still going to be going around in 17th. Despite the fact he was in a lot of trouble previously, he has returned, and looks like an opportunity for him to maybe clean up and get 1 or 2 more positions if anyone else wrecks. Still on the table, but he's far out of competing up and ahead right now anyway, as the rest of the field remains relatively isolated. Jesper Orman has pulled 6 seconds on your second place driver. Jesper is in a world of his own, and nobody's around him.
Yeah, he might be in Fort Worth while the rest of these guys are in Dallas. He's coming up on a gaggle of lapped cars up ahead, 4 of them all running different lines, but that 6-second buffer he has is going to prove all of that track drama to be moot, as he should be able to deftly navigate them all and cruise his way to the finish here, barring no yellow flags.
That's the big question. No yellow flags. Can we go all the way under green here? It looks like there should be very little distraction. Although it looks like now Tom Holland is coming up on Jesper. And you can see some lappers maybe making gains on that number 2 rather than Jesper getting closer to those who are laps down. We'll see whether or not Holland ends up playing a part, as it looks like right now the number 95 is just about a 1.5 seconds away from your leading man. The lappers tightening up on the rest of the field, and with 23 laps to go, the home stretch is truly in full swing. There's another battle coming up right here, and you can see it's close. Matthias Strauss, Cameron Baustin, and Patrick Zilvazzi all together. Right now, anyway, they're on the lead lap, but that could change. Cameron has gotten up into 8th, putting himself up several spots, and Patrick Zilvazzi has fallen back. You might remember he went down a pit road a little bit earlier than his competitors. Now he's starting to pay the dividends and fall back further.
Yeah, he's reaping what he's sown. He got a little on the front end, and he's paying a lot on the back end. Jesper has caught all of them. They're in a 5-dotted die shape in the corner, and he's hoping they can keep it clean, or at least leave him a lane to sow his way through here.
Looking under, it looks like Jesper going to quickly and clearly make that pass. That was very little trouble for the driver, that number 2. It looked like that was going to be an easy pass regardless of how you sliced it. So Orman once again going to make a spot up. Liam O'Sullivan now going to find himself 7.2 seconds back. Although it looks like now Andres has been able to make his way by, Liam has kept himself real tight, and maybe there's an opportunity that arises from the both of them getting closer together, as they are coming up again on some lap traffic. While it looks like for Orman, he's out in his own world. There are drivers such as Aiden Millward still very close to these leaders. And everywhere besides where your leader is, it looks to be a minefield, as Jesper has gotten by a few of these drivers himself, just got by Aiden. Maybe next up on the agenda, you're going to see Matthias Strauss be put 1 lap down. Strauss is currently in 9th, running in the 9th position indeed. Not a bad spot to be in, but he still could be put 1 under by the time this race is done.
David, keep an eye on Mark Murphy. He's erased the deficit to Liam and Andreas. I think he has a real shot here to make it an IAR 1-2 yet again. He's got the freshest tires because he did the overcut rather than the undercut, and I don't think he's punished them through traffic here. He's ran by himself most of the time, and he erased that 3-second gap. He's now only 0.5 second behind Liam and about 1 second behind Andreas.
And now looking at the telemetry here from Mark Murphy, you can see he's putting down the pedal, about fourth gear coming through the corners, and then putting the gas up once again. So watching on board, you'll see a little bit more of that movement inside the cockpit. Looks like comfortably running in the fifth gear through 3 and 4, running that middle groove, and he's going to let the toe do a lot of the work now. You mentioned Kyle, he's got the younger rubber, but now that you made up the distance, it's all about not shredding what you have, and he's definitely still making some gains. With 17 laps to go, though, that's not a lot of time. The question becomes, can he make enough of a gain here to the very end to make it all work out? Side by side, it looks like now you're going to see a little bit more of a battle with a lapper. That looks to be Adam Millward. Mark still has a ways to go, but he's there, and maybe there's a chance to make it IAR's second consecutive 1-2 finish.
Gonna have a big run here down the backstretch. Not enough to make a move, but I think that deficit is going to be 1/10, maybe a 1/10 and a half, instead of the half second it was before. Look at him surge through 3 and 4. He's going to be on the attenuator of O'Sullivan. Dials up the bottom, and there will be no contest here into turn 1.
Look at that. Mark Murphy up inside the podium, and all of a sudden, there's only one more man in his way. That's going to be Andres Eek. It's about a second, though, to make up. I don't know about this one, Kyle. There's time, but is there time enough? That still remains the biggest of questions. Right now, Andres getting by a few of those lappers. Just got by Craig Forsyth and Tom Holland. Still going to be a few more buffers in between, but if there's enough speed right now for Mark Murphy, he could still be using it. And now his next challenge is getting by those lappers who are now just ahead of him. It's clear now Mark's not going to make it easy, but he still has several drivers to go by if he wants a fair chance at second.
Liam O'Sullivan just got tagged by Seb Alexander in 1 and 2. They both keep it straight, but Seb looks like he's going to move himself up a position here, getting by Liam.
And as such, Liam O'Sullivan fades back into 5th, so bad news right there for the number 12 team, who remain inside the podium for the better part of this run. However, that might be coming to pass. Very last moments of this one, Mark Murphy, Andres Eek making their way through, and right now for Mark Murphy, he finds himself up into 3rd, about a full second left to get through. It's now 8.8 seconds back for Andres and 9.8 back for Mark Murphy. And Gary Godso in the chat coming by. Phil Kraus, domination in IIS on the Raceverse Network. Looks like Kraus coming home with a dominant victory. Checkered flag goes in that broadcast, and we're just moments away from ours here, and the battle is heating up. Murphy's getting closer, but I don't know now if the gaining is enough.
Yeah, Kraus went worst to first at Laguna Seca today. Seb Alexander trying the same. It looks like he might catch Murphy for 3rd, but we're definitely going to have some action here to determine who's going to end up on the podium. It's unsolved as of yet.
And with 10 laps to go, it's got to come to a solution real soon here. I don't know if Seb Alexander is still 7/10 back, and the question is just the ifs right now. Do you have enough speed if there's enough time? Could these drivers make it happen? It's still going to be all up in the air, and even though Jesper Orman is clicking down laps time after time, everyone else really not in that same position here. Although it looks like Mark Murphy now definitely making gains. That's going to be now within 1 second. It's 8/10 back to Andres Eek. And that's the biggest giveaway he's had all throughout, as he just made it by. And he's working with another lapper in Craig Forsyth. The IAR car, the 69, now sees a nice opportunity to maybe make it back up to Andres. He's got to go as hard as he can here with these final 8 laps, though, because it's not going to be cut and dry. Andres is still fighting, and he's got Craig Forsyth right there with.
Yeah, Murph wishes the Forsyth would pick some other lines from time to time. Finding the clean air behind Ike is very, very hard, especially when there's another car with more pace, because Forsyth has the freshest tires among the 3. He's just being considerate and trying to stay out of the way. Although I'm sure Murph would love to go up and test the waters out by the wall.
7 laps remaining, and Murphy is now definitely in the picture. You can see him getting right by Craig Forsyth. Craig goes up high. Gonna give Mark a lot of room here, and you can see now the gap is 1 car length. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, depending on how you measure it here, but Murphy is now in the mix, and he's got a massive run coming down to the front straightaway. They'll be side by side of the line, and Murphy now making a look at 1-2 for IAR. He's just got to make this pass. Easier said than done, but he's made up all this distance. It was a gap of 4.5 seconds when the run started, and now Murphy's done it. Murph up to second, and IAR is once again 1-2. And look who's coming. Seb Alexander looking to make it an IAR podium.
It will be uncontested. Seb has the tire advantage. He has the line advantage. He knows where Murph is going to go in each corner, and Andreas went very high there. 2 more corners, and I think Seb will take third.
Now coming through in a 3 and 4. It is going to be an easy move there for the number 45, Seb Alexander. Gonna take it right back up to third, and as such, it's IAR 1-2-3, and the dominant manufacturer, the Homestead Miami Speedway, is looking for an even better run today. A little bit of action right now for Tom Holland and Matthias Kraus. Kraus just got by the number 39, moving further up. He's still in the 7th spot as it stands, and looks like Julian Altena coming up on his VOR teammate in Liam O'Sullivan. However, a few tenths back even still with 3 remaining. Maybe one final opportunity for a pass as O'Sullivan, who was the better of the 2 VOR drivers tonight, still might get outrun and outfinished by his flagship teammate at Altena Autosport.
Julian rips around on the high side. They don't pay points to the last lap, so it doesn't matter if you lead them all up to that point. Julian establishes himself as the front-running VOR driver today. Late in the stages, but it still counts.
Quick move that's going to get him up there with now less than 2 laps remaining. As coming across the line, this time by Jesper Orman, is looking to wave the white flag and make this race official. Checkered flag will fall next time by with no excuses. It's been a 2-caution day with 300 miles on the table, and the long haul will come to a close. Final lap for Jesper Orman, the man who won at the Homestead Miami Speedway and is looking to open this season with back-to-back victories. And not only is it a victory for Orman for the 2nd time, but a 1-2-3 finish for his team, Indy Alliance Racing. Checkered flag will fall for Jesper Orman as he brings his team to a 1-2-3 podium finish. Mark Murphy coming across the line, pulls it home in 2nd, and Seb Alexander's 3rd. IAR will extend their championship lead with a full sweep of the Lone Star State's podium.
Hats off to them. They executed the strategy the best in the last stint there. Really the only team that committed to, I don't want to say an overcut, but they definitely went longer than everyone else, and they reaped the rewards late in the stages there, decimating the rest of the top 5, working their way through them, erasing deficits of 3, 4, even 5 seconds in the case of Seb Alexander to reach all 3 steps of the podium. Masterfully done by the 3 of them who are posing here at the start-finish line for a photo op.
And the big 3 of this field today, reason to celebrate for the entire IAR crew. They were dominant. Seb Alexander, let's run the numbers on your screen once again. Alexander was 3rd, Mark Murphy 2nd, and Jesper Orman in 1st. Jesper, overall today, he led the most laps of anyone. He led 101 of the laps today, so just over 50%. Mark Murphy, who comes home today in that 2nd position, well, the number 69 crew got himself in the mix, leading 5 laps, and Seb Alexander led 1. So overall, they led 107 laps today as a team. Of course, a lot of that work done by their winning man. Regardless, the big 3 tonight, they showed up and dominated. IAR on top for the 2nd week in a row.
Maybe do you hear? It's the Texas Whisperer. If they let me place bets on this race, I'd be a very rich man. That's all I'm going to say.
Jesper is 2 for 2, and you saw it coming here, Kyle. I wasn't quite sure to see if the winner from last week could do it again. Homestead, Texas, very different tracks, but tonight, Jesper showed us all how it's done. 2nd straight oval. He's heading down, it looks like right now, to pit road. making his way down in to cap off an incredible race for his entire team. What a win that was as Orman makes it down into pit road. Let's run through your overall race result for tonight's event, and starting to the top 10, you'll have Jesper Orman winning from Mark Murphy in second and Seb Alexander position number 3. Then from there, you're going to have Andres Eichen fourth, who just barely lost out on the podium as Indy Alliance Racing comes home with the top 3 all to themselves. Then it's going to be Julian Altena in fifth, the highest position driver of all Altena Autosport machines, and Matthias Kraus sixth, with Liam O'Sullivan then second, or rather seventh, second to the VOR guys, and Cameron Baushin is 8th, Matthias Strauss 9th, and then from there, Craig Forsyth rounds out the top 10, Kyle. Eleventh spot on the running, Fyodor Dovchenko. Dan Enge 12th, 13th spot to Nate Fields, Aiden Millward in 14th, and Jordan Evans 15th. But at this point, you're coming up on the lappers who did not finish this race, and Patrick Zilvazzi, Cody Meadows, Lorenzo Bonder, and John Christensen ending the top 20. And then from there, the final drivers in the field tonight, Gary Lovern, Raid Rizza, Sheridan Wade, and Yaroslav Donskoy to end off the night. Victory lane for one driver and one only, and we're going to bring in your entire top 3, starting, of course, with your race winner, Jesper Orman, the man who gets it done, collecting the checkered flag tonight. And we get a word, your race winner coming up right now. Orman coming in first, and the entire IAR crew and their podium. Well, we're going to be discussing it all throughout. Looks like we've got ourselves few of the drivers available, and our winner is now with us right now. So let's bring in the number 2. 2 consecutive races, and you've already found victory lane in the both of them, Jesper. You lead the championship by an even wider margin, and it was total team control. You were the most dominant man, however, leading 101 laps, and you find checkered flag in victory lane here in Texas. How does it feel? And Jesper, if you got a copy after your big race victory here in Texas, let us know.
Some audio technical difficulties to be expected. Not everyone's computer loves to cooperate all the time. We're going to kick him out and bring him back in maybe later if he gets this issue resolved. Looks like he popped out of the room and he hopped back in. You want to try one more time?
We'll try it one more time. Jesper, checking one final time here after the big victory here in Texas. You with us? And unfortunately, for the time being, it looks like Jesper giving a little bit of the headset trouble, so we'll work our way from third on up. And with that being said, Kyle, we'll bring in Seb Alexander, and you'll be standing by with our third place finisher.
Hey, Seb, way to work your way through the field today. We noted halfway through that you'd had kind of a quiet day, but looks like the IAR cars really came to life in the last stint there. Tell us about that strategy, who made the call, and how you worked your way up through the field.
I mean, mostly it's just a matter of keeping that right front alive, right? Because if you do, then all of a sudden the field just starts coming to you. So that was it. We tried to stretch so we didn't want to be the first guys in the pits on the final stop. We were a bit worried there a while that we waited too long and we wouldn't be able to catch up, but it ended up quite all right, I'd say.
Well, congratulations and well done managing the heat in both your tires and the racetrack. I know Europe itself is also under a bit of a heat wave. Hopefully you and your loved ones are staying cool. Do you have any of them you'd like to shout out? Sponsors, friends, family, etc.? You've earned it.
I mean, obviously my teammates in IAR, Mark and Jesper in this one. Also shout out to my cat who nearly wrecked me under caution. Did you see that when there he is, if you heard that. I need to go let him out because he's kind of upset, and he managed to tangle up my mouse and it shifted the window so I couldn't see anything for a couple of seconds. Slammed the wall on pit entry, lost a few spots, but car seemed okay, and I think I lucked out there.
You know how it is between cats and mice, so luckily you survived that fatal encounter today.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Great race. I'm impressed with the field. This is a tough drive with the fall off, and yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so what can Jesper teach you so maybe next time you can knock him off here at Texas? Every time I've raced behind him, I can't beat him here. Any secrets you're willing to share?
I'm still working on that, but yeah, it's tough, right? He's so damn good. I guess qualifying would be step one, but other than that, I still need to figure out the same. I'm wondering the same thing.
Well, thanks for your time and thanks for kicking butt today. David, any closing questions?
Well, we saw you come up there very late to join with your IAR teammates, and it looks like the strategy playing out exactly how you needed at the tail ends. It looks like instead of going in for a longer stretch, you stayed with them. A few drivers who tried the undercut were ahead. You think it was better just running your race, going a little bit longer like your teammates did and following the way there?
Yeah, I don't think the undercut is like that. It doesn't really work that well here. I think it's mostly about saving the tire, because if you do have your pace at the end, it doesn't matter how many people you're just gonna fly by them.
That being said, Seb, coming in with a third place finish here on an all IAR podium. If you have any final shout outs you'd like to make, we'd love to hear it.
No, other than my team that I already shouted out, I just want to shout out my cat. He is so upset right now, so I'm gonna go let him out. Thanks for doing this, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Seb. Take care.
So Seb Alexander comes in third, and Mark Murphy is going to be joining us in the broadcast booth. Let's get your second place finisher here in Kyle, and you'll once again be standing by as Mark Murphy is in the broadcast booth.
Oh, hey, Murph. You kicked some butt out there. Great job on that last stint, tracking back down Ike and working your way up through the field to finish P2. You got some slick-looking colors on that IAR car. Tell the whole world about it.
Yeah, so first of all, that was a ton of fun. I am wore out. I'm gonna have to turn the force feedback on the old podium down a little bit. My arms are tired, but no, man, great race, great fun. Jesper was just that much quicker on and off pit lane, and that's the difference. That's the difference between a pro and somebody like me that's not very good on and off pit road. So kudos to him. Kudos to Seb. 1, 2, 3. We ran 1-2 last week, so we decided to tell Seb we're having some fun, and why don't you come on, and maybe we can get more IA cars. We're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4 next week. We'll get Will Knight to come run with us, but so much fun. Second favorite track on the service. Just so much fun, and yeah, the colors. So if people don't know, there's a new decal on the engine cover, and we're all moving to a new home soon. We got to thank David and Chad Frankenfield and everybody at ERN for giving our stuff a home for a few weeks, and yeah, we're excited. Go over to P1 Broadcasting on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you get all the notifications, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming on that channel. So definitely appreciate that, and yeah, just wore out, tired, but a lot of fun, Clindy.
Well, hey, man, go crack yourself open a cold one. You definitely earned it. You kicked all the butt today, so now you can kick your feet up and relax. You're all done kicking for the afternoon.
Yeah, I got apparently while I was racing, my wife had the kids in there cleaning up their toy room. So thanks to Natalie for keeping the household going while I get to play. And, thanks, I had my dad at home watching. We'll see him in a couple of weeks. And yeah, man, thanks to IAR and Black Magic Designs and Admin Box, P1 Broadcasting. We're still going fast and having fun, Clindy, and that's the main thing, right?
Absolutely. Right foot down, eyes forward, heads up. Do you know if Jesper got his mic fixed in the waiting room? I know we had tried to pull him up here a few minutes ago, but
he did. I was going to tell you that. You guys need to talk to the man. He whipped us all today, and that's one of the best IndyCar drivers in the service right there. You go talk to him. You don't want to talk to me anymore. That's for sure.
All right, man. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for putting on a show, and we'll kick you out of here, and we'll bring Jesper up.
Cool deal. Thanks, Clindy. You have a good night. You hear? You too, David.
Absolutely.
Mark Murphy on the move. How about the driver I'm sure we both want to talk to? We're going to bring in the man who has so far been dominant to open up this season, and he's ushered in a wave of IAR control here in the VOR INDYCAR Series. Jesper Worman, 101 laps led, and a second victory for the number 2 team. Everything's bigger in Texas, and this win is a big one for the entire team. And of course, notably, as you brought it on as a race winner, you of course made a huge difference for the entire crew you were working with.
Thanks, David. I do apologize for my mic issues there. I don't know what happened. I just restarted the program. It works now. So, yeah, it was a great race. I enjoyed that. Some people were really fast. I didn't expect Liam and Andreas to put up such a fight. So that was pretty awesome. And at the end there, a podium sweep for our guys. So can you ask for more? No, I'm perfectly happy.
And it looks like the best possible race for this entire team. And, well, we were talking about it in the broadcast booth. You started in 4th, and Kyle had you as the pick to go for the win all throughout. And you had Mark Murphy with you right there. Of course, teammates help out, a big deal. We're trying to break away from the field. And the early laps, when you and Mark got together, eventually moving away from the Team 4 guys, it seemed to click from there like it was nothing. You think those early laps, working with Mark and company, helped out the most?
Yeah, for sure. Team racing is a big deal in IndyCar. And, well, at the start of the race, I wasn't really trying to go for the lead. I was saving map 4, trying to go as long as I could. But then turned out like, okay, the race is 200 laps and you can easily go 50. You can go like 55. So there was almost no point in saving too much. As soon as you hit 50, it was pretty much time to get into the pits. So that's what I did, and I got a huge lead. I'm not sure exactly why, but from then I just pushed. And then we had our first cautions, and yeah, so it was I was basically trying to win the race a couple of times there. But it is what it is. This is the deal. Everyone knows that cautions can mix up the field, so you just got to deal with it. It's the same for everyone.
Well, despite the 2 cautions. Kyle, you got anything to say?
I was just going to ask, do you have any tips for the youngsters at home who maybe one day want to grow up and be just like you and kick everyone's butt at Texas every single time you load in on the service? Because I've never seen the front of your car at this track, only ever the rear of it.
Come on, Kyle. Okay. How can I respond to that? I mean, lift. I like to run the bottom line. Mark, he likes the high line. And so it is a track where you can run both grooves, basically. I just feel that usually the bottom line, the bottom lane, is the lane where you can save the most tires. And it's extremely important to lift super early into turn 1. Just get the rotation on the front. And once you have the rotation and you find that apex, you can start accelerating. But I have to say, in this race, didn't seem like the bottom really saved tires too much, because I think I had the worst wear of all our guys on our team. So yeah, the setup was a bit tight. It was tricky, but it was a tire saving race, and that's those kind of races I enjoy the most on this service.
Dominance tonight for your crew once again, the checkered flag in hand. It looks like a very fun race to go with. With that being said, starting the season very strong. The rest of the schedule, we're going to throw it on the screen right now for the viewers at home. We've got some great races coming up next, and immediately after this one, well, we're going to be heading after 2 straight mile and a halves. We've got ourselves another exciting challenge on the table, and that exciting challenge being the Grand Prix of Road America. So for the first time this season, we're going road racing, and that's another great fixture of this series. And Jesper, we've seen you run solidly at those tracks before. The twists and turns are not kind to anyone, though. You think there's a chance to come out with another great run for not only you, but your team?
I mean, Road America is one of my favorite road course tracks, but as most of you guys know, my absolute strength is the ovals. So no, you won't see me run away with it on Road America. There's no chance. But I'll do my best. I won't say that I'm slow. I'm okay. We'll see how far it can take me. I'll do my best. Really looking forward to it. And also, our team is taking more and more steps towards the front runners of this community, the entire IndyCar community. So that's also something very positive. And I feel like we're making lots of gains now on road courses. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm really looking forward to Road America.
Looking forward to, of course, what's coming up next on the schedule. 2 straight wins to start the season, Jesper. Got anyone else you'd like to shout out? We'd love to hear it.
Shout out to my teammates, Mark and Seb. I mean, podium sweep. Great company, great conversations as always. We're just having a good time.
Just like that, Jesper Orman and the IAR crew pulling through with a podium sweep, and Jesper taking the top spot of them all, victory lane here in the LOVERN'S 300. Thank you for stopping by, and fantastic race, so thank you for coming aboard.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Kyle, for the broadcast.
And with Jesper on the way, we've gotten the word now, Kyle, from all of our top 3 drivers. And, of course, fantastic for this entire IAR team who have proven to be dominant here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. No other team like them tonight. And with that being said, I think it's about time for our closing messages to end out the night. So, Kyle, you got any final thoughts before us? We, of course, wrap up.
Yeah, it may be the Lone Star State, but there's a new constellation in the sky, and it is IAR Racing. Look out for these guys next season and every season beyond. As long as Jesper's on that team, they will be competitive and they will kick your butt. So watch this replay, learn from it, take his words into your ear and let them nestle in your brain. Live by them, die by them, save your right front, and maybe you too one day can win at Texas Motor Speedway.
Seen Texas a fixture in this campaign for several seasons now, and as we move into the early stages of season 12, a second consecutive win for Jesper Orman will end the night here from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We'd like to thank you all for watching exclusive coverage on the VOR Racing Network for the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. This has been the Lovers Incorporated 300. We hope you join us next week for the Grand Prix of Road America here on the VOR Network once again. So make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A lot of great racing content coming up next, including the VOR Iconic Series, and we got ourselves the IRO 5 Series and the INDYCAR Series all on these weekends. You will not want to miss any of the exciting VOR action all throughout the rest of 2024. I've been David Kreutz, joined today by Kyle Clenworth in the broadcast booth, and we can't wait to see you once again come next Saturday afternoon, so we hope you join us once more. This has been a special coverage of the Lovers Incorporated 300 from the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We thank you for stopping by and tuning into the VOR Racing Network, and we hope you have a fantastic night.